Hello, welcome to GTFO, a rather delayed version because we were supposed to do this last week, weren't we, Simon Dalley?
We weren't just supposed to do it. We actually tried to do it several
We did,
times for
yeah,
about an hour, wasn't it?
we
We
tried,
failed
yeah.
miserably.
We had Wi-Fi issues, then we had StreamYard issues, then we had Zoom issues, then we had people phoning us having crisis issues, and in the end, we had a paddy and gave it up as a bad job, didn't we?
Yeah, we just started the weekend. We just
Yeah, we
poured
did.
ourselves a drink and said, "That's it. That's the
That's
weekend."
it. Enough of this bollocks. Moving on. But we've come back and we're still gonna do it because it's a really good
Stronger,
session.
kept more capable.
Well, potentially, time will tell on that one. So we are here today to talk about long form content. Now, if you are a content marketer, if you're doing content marketing already, you should know all about long form content, but we'll do a little bit of an explanation about what it is, and then we will give you 5 top tips to help you improve your long form content. But before we go any further, Simon Dalley, what's your name and where do you come from?
My name is Simon Dalley, and I come from When you say where you come from, is there a specific reason that you're asking that question? Is there something that you're trying to get out of me, like the place I come from, what I do?
Well, really, I'm just channeling Cilla Black on Blind
Okay.
Date off of the 90s. Hello, what's your name and where do you come from? Um, so
Is
yeah,
this
you
what
can
you've been
answer
doing
it in
all this
any.
time?
Yeah.
Ah, no.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm channeling Cilla Black. So you can answer it in any way you like. You can say company, you can say place you live now, you can say place you were born.
Well, okay. We're going to go right back to that. Yeah, I was born in
Yeah, I mean,
Preston.
I don't want your life story. There you
Oh,
go.
right.
That's it. There you go.
Okay.
Simon Daly, born in Preston. Perfect.
Boom.
Anything good happened to you this week, Simon Daly, born in Preston?
Um, yeah, it's been a really good week in many ways. I have yeah, no, it's been a good week. Good week to kind of realise some things. Um, as Rachel knows, but perhaps people watching and listening don't know, I'm trying my best to move my role to make a kind of bigger role within the company and within the various companies, and to take on a more strategic role, to not get as bogged down operationally in the client work for Grow Traffic. And I think I was doing really well up until about halfway through the week. And it's interesting how that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. So I'll be coming back to it with renewed focus and vigor next week, no doubt.
Well, it's a process, isn't it? It's not
It
something
is a
you can
process.
just switch off like that. So there we
No,
go. Well,
especially
yeah,
when we've got so many new team members as well.
yeah.
But that's also part of the good thing that I've recognised. We have got loads of new team members. We have grown massively. We're doing okay, and
Mm,
lots of things are kind of falling into place now. So
yeah,
this will just be another one.
yeah,
How's your
absolutely.
week been, Rara?
Well, yeah, up and down, up and down. Lots of things going on, sort of personally away from the business, which are a bit trying, shall we say? But on the plus side, we've been trying to get our new Seroptimist e-club chartered, or trying to get it off the ground for some
I
time.
didn't know you were a
Uh,
Sir Optimist.
Yes, I know. I don't mention it very often, do I? But yeah, we've finally got the news that our application to charter our new e-club has been approved. So we will very soon be an official Sir Optimist club. So I'm very excited about that. That's taken a considerable amount of work for some time, and it's coming off. So yeah, there we go. Excellent. Anyway, moving on. Long form content. So. Long form content, according to a survey done by Search Engine Journal, generates 9 times more leads than any other type of content. So if you are doing content marketing for SEO or for lead gen purposes, then long form content really needs to be one of the tools in your arsenal. So first things first, Simon Daly, what is long form content? What do we mean by when we talk about long form content?
We're generally talking about written content for a start. We're talking about content that is uh, originally it was content that's more than 1,000 words long. I think HubSpot defines it as being between 1,000 words and 7,500 words, something like that. Is is considered to be long form content. It's a deep dive into a subject. We could all write blog posts that are 600 words long, but getting up to blog posts that are over 1,000 words long, you start to find yourself repeating yourself about a topic if you don't have a good amount of understanding about that topic, or you end up finding that people waffle. So it's a long piece of content that provides a detailed insight into a topic, and you tend to find that long form content ranks more highly than other pieces of content for a number of reasons, but one of those being word length, apparently.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about long form content, I mean, really, we are talking about word count, aren't we? I mean, as you just said, generally speaking, when we write sort of SEO articles, blogs, they're about 800 to 1,000 words. That's sort of average length of a blog post nowadays. So anything, actually, they classify it technically as anything between 2,100 and 2,400, which is very, very specific. I would say it's more between sort of 1,000 and 3,000. The general rule of thumb is once you get in above the sort of 4,000 or 5,000 word mark, you're technically into, you're into an article or a white paper or an ebook or something by the time you're at that territory, aren't you? So long form content, essentially, it's a longer blog, but it's still a blog. It's before you go up to that next level of anything else.
When people started talking about long form content, the advice then was 1,000 words long. And bear in mind that this is probably something that people started talking about 10, 12 years ago. And as I'm sure we'll come on to in a minute, the length that you have to create in order for it to be long form content is increasing.
Yeah, it is. So just a few benefits. You touched on there some of the benefits of long-term content. You said it generally ranks better. Sorry, long-form content. You said
long-term content has a lot of benefits as well.
That's what we talked about last time, isn't it?
Evergreen content,
yeah. Anyway, we've done that one. But yeah, long-form content. You said it ranks better. Why it ranks better? Because it's giving a slightly more detailed answer. So you've got tend to have a lot more information in there if it's done well. So it's answering the query. It's meeting that seeker intent potentially a lot better than a shorter piece of content might. The other just pure things are because it's longer, there are more opportunities to have links in there, backlinks or internal links to the rest of your web content. There's more engagement. Literally it takes somebody longer to read it, so they are spending longer on your website, potentially more engaged, potentially then going to browse more or convert a little bit better. So the reasons as to why it ranks better, when you think about them, they're quite common sense, aren't they?
Yeah, and probably the other one that you didn't quite touch on there is that there's just more words, so there's more opportunity to rank for a bigger variety of different types of keywords and long tail keywords. Searches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the more words you got in there, the more keywords you're going to get in there. So yeah, makes sense. Okay, so we're going to give you 5 top tips then to help you improve your long form content and make sure it is doing the job that you need it to do. Because the last thing you want to do is spend 3 hours writing your lovely 3,000 word blog post, and then it goes on your website and it does bugger all. So here are some tips that could help you make sure you're maximizing the potential of that piece of content. So tip number 1 is understand your why. So first of all, why are you writing long form content, and do you actually need it? So go on, Dalley. Why might some businesses or some websites need it? Why might some not? Why might it be beneficial? How do people judge that?
I think there's a number of different ways of answering that question. So in terms of why might a potential customer be looking for long form content, that's one way of looking at it. So a potential customer is going to be looking for an in-depth answer to a particular topic, and it's only something that's got that kind of size and heft to it that's going to be able to answer that question sufficiently in order to satisfy them, let them understand that you're an expert in that topic, and give them the answer that they need. from a search perspective, so from an SEO perspective, there are a number of other things like what your competitors are doing, which generally, what length of content are people in your industry creating, because you probably need to do more than what your competitors are doing in most situations. So there's a number of different ways you can look at it.
Might there be some businesses, industries, websites that don't need long form content? Might there be somewhere the sort of
Absolutely.
the effort is not worth it, the benefit?
Yeah. So I used to work as in the marketing team at a business that worked in the construction industry. They actually sold products to the construction industry, and we found that we could create content that was more like 300 words long in that sector, because it's quite a conservative industry, and there was fewer people putting content out, so we could create content that was between 300 and 600 words and still get that same kind of cut through as though in other industries, they'll be creating 1,000 word content. And also, I did a little bit of research on this a few years ago in terms of average content length in different industries, and the marketing industry, for example, the average top ranking blog post in the marketing industry, I think this was about 3 or 4 years ago now when I did the research, but it
Probably
was
needs updated, that piece of research, doesn't it?
absolutely, but it took me ages to do, so I'm not going to do it every now and
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to do it every now and then. But I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 words long was the length of content that ranked really highly at that time. Now search has changed quite a lot since then. However, it's still interesting to note that the different industries, different sectors require different length of content, partially because that's what you need to answer the question, but also because it depends what your competitors are doing.
Yeah, so it's when you're thinking about, you're coming to write you're coming to ask yourself, do I need to write long form content for my website? It's back to what you were saying before. First of all, look at your competition. Who are you competing against for those keywords that you want to rank for, and what type of content are they writing? What length? What detail are they going into? But also think about your audience. There might be an argument that perhaps people in the construction industry, you're talking to builders, they haven't got time to sit there and read really in depth. They're just not going to read really in depth articles on their phones when they want. They want a quick answer. They want the answer now. There it is. Easy peasy, off we go. Whereas potentially, marketing people, financial, insurance, that kind of those industries, legal potentially, they might be much more inclined to sit and read a longer article to get a more in-depth answer to something. So it's a range of factors, isn't it? But before you decide, am I going to dive in and write long form content, understand why you're doing it, what you need to achieve out of it, and then you'll understand what you need to do, how you need to write it, basically. Okay, so tip number 1, understand your why. Tip number 2, plan your content. Now, this is literally, plan what you are going to write in your blog post, because just because it's long form doesn't mean you can waffle. And the temptation is, you look at, say, you're going to sit down and write 3,000 words, and you might have 1 or 2 points, and the temptation then is to waffle, to just fill that word count. And that's absolutely not what it's about at all. You need to have it still needs to be a really concise piece of content. You need to make sure that every sentence in there is valuable and is adding value there, because Google knows whether or not you've got a piece of waffle or a piece of valuable content, doesn't it? So how would you go about making sure that you're writing a useful, helpful piece rather than just a piece of waffle?
Well, I think it does come down to the planning process. So I always think that anyone can sit down and write 1,000 words of content, or most people can sit down and get 1,000 words out. Mm-hmm. When you start to get over that, it takes a bit more thought. It takes a bit more planning. You need to have your beginning, middle, and end. You need to know the essential points that you're going to get into that piece of content. You will be looking, most blog content, most queries have existing blogs out there existing articles, answers to questions. So you're going to be looking at these and making sure that you've got all the relevant points within there. And that'll give you a guide to, how to structure some of that data, that content as well.
And you can also use things like, answer the public. People also ask on Google. So, you've picked your topic for what you're going to write about. Have a think about what your keywords are going to be for that topic, and then do a little bit of keyword research. So just put those keywords into answer the public or Google and figure out what are the questions that people are asking around this. And that will help you then. You could almost, build each section around a different question as you move through your content, can't you? So you can make sure you are asking and answering a multitude of questions within that one piece. So yeah, absolutely, sit down and plan it. Don't just sit down and waffle on for 3,000 words. So, okay, point number 1, understand your why. Point number 2, plan your content. Really understand what you're going to write about, so you're not going off and talking about your dog. Number 3, have a unique point of view. Now, this is important, isn't it? Because the one of the main goals of long form content is that you are providing the answer for something, but also that you are setting yourself up as an expert in this field and demonstrating your knowledge and your authority and all the rest of it. So it's really important that is an original piece of content that has an original point of view, or at least has a fresh perspective, or your perspective, or your take on a situation. What are some ways that people can go about making sure they're doing this?
Well, actually, the article that I mentioned earlier about long form content is probably a really good example of this. So it's easy to write. There's probably lots of articles out there about long form content and what you should or shouldn't do. However, what I then went on, so I have that as my basic kind of structure of my article, but I then went and carried out bespoke and unique research into this myself for Grow Traffic, which informed the whole article in terms of the themes that I was going to pick out and that I was going to concentrate on. And that was something that ended up to be about somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 words, I think, in the end. But that's a good example. So it's a unique perspective that I developed by doing some original research.
There are other ways of doing that as well, aren't there? Of course. So, if you obviously you can go and do your own unique bit of research. You could take an article or an idea that somebody else in the industry's had and just add your perspective onto it. Another thing you could do is perhaps do a survey. I mean, this is quite a traditional thing from a PR point of view, isn't it? But you could do a survey amongst, say, your customers or people that buy within your sector or whatever, and gather some opinions and use that as an original sort of thought leadership piece, can't you? So yeah, it's about having that, offering something new rather than just rehashing what's already out there, basically.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you don't do that, it's really easy for somebody else to recreate that content that you've created and make it a bit more long form, and it's a never-ending kind of game of cat and mouse there.
Well, we're back to that point of adding value, aren't we? This is what the whole purpose of it is, because again, 3,000 words of waffle is absolutely meaningless, and search engines will know whether or not that piece of content is adding value, is answering the questions your customer asking, is meeting that seeker intent. So absolutely, you want to be making sure that piece of content is valuable, and again, not just a waste of time. So it's having that unique point of view allows you to do that. Okay, so number 1, understand your why. Number 2, plan your content. Plan it really carefully so that you're not waffling. Number 3, have a unique point of view, or offer a unique take, or do some unique research. Number 4, think about where it fits in with the rest of your content marketing calendar and the rest of your web content, the rest of your buyer journey. Why is this important?
It's important because it's important for any piece of content that you create.
Yeah.
You need to understand, and it kind of ties into the why create this content in the first place kind of point that we mentioned earlier. before embarking on any piece of content, you need to work out where it's going to fit within the buyer journey. That will affect the way that you explain the topic, the call to actions that you've got in there. It may be that you create a long form piece of content because you aren't just targeting the SERPs or Google or search engines, but you also that a long form piece of content is the right thing to have at a certain touch point along the buyer journey. So you might be remarketing to them with a long form piece of content because that's the way to really hook them into pushing them over the line to become a sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, absolutely, as we said before, this is the case for every piece of content, but it's got to fit in with your overall strategy. It's got to fit in with the rest of your content, because as we said before, one of the big bonuses of long form content is that you've got more opportunities to do that internal linking, to make sure you are moving people between other places on your website and linking all your keywords and your content, your pages, etc. together. So, the more it fits in with the rest of what you're doing, the more opportunity you've got to do that, the more you can leverage the benefit of that. Otherwise, you just have a piece of content. It's a lovely piece of content, but it just sits out on its own, isn't related to the rest of your website, and then essentially does nothing. It doesn't have any particular benefit. Okay, so 5 top tips. Number 1, understand your why. Number 2, plan your content. Number 3, have a unique point of view. Number 4, think about where it fits in with the rest of your content and your buyer journey. And number 5, share your content. Share it all over the place. This is always the step that people forget, or they just share it on their Facebook or their LinkedIn or whatever and forget to do anything else with it. Why, particularly with long form content, is it important to do those next steps? What are those next steps, first of all, and why?
I mean, content distribution, amplification, whatever you want to call it, is so important for content marketing, and it's important for SEO as well. People think to themselves that just because they've created a piece of content, Google will find it and consider it. But if you can give additional signals to Google that this content is valuable because it's being shared, it might be being shared by other people in the industry, maybe even your competitors are sharing this piece of content because it's got some unique perspective to it that they want to explore as well, then you're giving all those signals to Google that this is a valuable piece of content and valuable to rank for its keywords. We actually did a piece of content targeting content marketing agencies ages ago. And one of the things that we did was we ranked the content marketing agencies in the UK with a bit of a made up kind of metric, file counts, but then we shared it between everybody that was on that, and lots of people reshared it, retweeted it, and before you know it, this piece of content that was a bit tongue in cheek ended up ranking at position 1 for content marketing agencies. So that's an example.
It brought a lot of traffic into the website.
Good amount of traffic, yeah.
It gave us sort of industry recognition. People who've never heard of us had suddenly heard of us, and we're grateful and stuff. How can you use long form content for PR benefit?
I think you touched upon it earlier, which is creating kind of unique research off the back of things like surveys, where you can analyze what's going on, all the perspectives of your customers, your potential customers, maybe your competitors as well, what's happening in your industry. You might be able to create small bits of content that are maybe one stage further removed from a press release, but not quite as in-depth as a white paper. And that can be picked up by other people in the industry. It might be used to even inform policy decisions in an industry debate, for example. There's lots of different ways that you can use long form content from a PR perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, really practically speaking, once you've published it on your website, as you say, you could see if you can pull a press release out of it, send it on to some press agencies or industry bodies, but also, maybe just draw attention if you've got people who suppliers or other industry professionals that you work with or whatever, you know, draw their attention to it, share it with them on social media, LinkedIn, email it over to them, you know, just make sure you're drawing attention back to that piece of content, and not just in the immediate period after it's published. You know, if it's a really good meaty piece of content, keep that attention up, you know, have a bit of a strategy over a few weeks of how you're going to keep sharing it and what have you.
We're all guilty of that, actually. It's a really valid point and something that everyone's guilty of. That we create a piece of content, and because we understand that we need to create a high velocity of output, we move on and we forget to share all that piece of content that we created previously becomes less important. It's less top of mind to us. Whereas, you know, if we had proper audits or proper you know, we really did understand the content that we were creating, and we could go back to, I don't know, a database or whatever it would be, or we could automate in some way. Then there's ways that you can keep sharing that content that will be relevant for a long period of time.
Yeah, and if you know, if it ever comes up in the news, if there's ever a news article about a relevant thing, again, you can pull it out and say, we wrote about this like 3 months ago or whatever. So yeah, you
I
can
should
do that.
share my long form content article.
Well, it's probably out of date now. You need to update it for 2022.
Probably do, but I'm going to share it anyway.
Okay, I think another thing that we always forget to do is repurposing content. So the beauty of having a really nice, big piece, meaty piece of content is that you've got lots that you can pull out of it. So you've got lots of, you know, sentences, stats, facts, figures, whatever that you can pull out maybe to use as tweets. You can also pull some of that out to create some unique graphics. You could even create an infographic out of the whole thing that accompanies it. And then you've got that piece of content in different ways. So, you know, can you make it visual? Can you create the images out of it? Can you perhaps do a podcast about it? Can you make a little video out of it? You know, get all the audio, the video, the graphic bases covered so that you've got it in text form, but you've also got it in lots of different ways. And again, that gives you that content then that you can keep sharing across your social media, your email newsletter. You can send it out to people. Lots of different ways of repurposing the same piece of content. You can use it for backlink building as well. We mustn't forget backlink building, can we? How do you use it for backlink building?
I mean, there's a number of different ways that you can use it for backlink building. You can go out to your, you can send it out via email to people who are creating content around a similar thing, and ask and suggest to them that they might want to link back to this fantastic piece of content that you've got, because it will add value to their audience. You can not only go to people that are generally creating content, you can target specific people and suggest that they create content, or you can ask people that have already created certain pieces of content to include a link to your piece within that content. And just generally, there's lots of content distribution sites that you can add things to. You can that will generate links back to your website from sharing blog posts. And also you might think about places like forums where you might be able to share a piece of content and say, you know, look at this because this answers the question that you're thinking about. So there's a whole number of different ways that you might want to share content.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there we go. 5 top tips on improving your long form content. Tip number 1, understand the why. Why are you doing it? Do you need to? How often do you need to do it? Once you understand why you're doing it, you'll understand what you need to be writing about. Number 2, plan your content. Make sure you've structured it. So you're really you're not just putting out 3,000 words of waffle. You really are putting out a piece of content that is you know, meaty from start to finish. Number 3, have a unique point of view. So do some original research or take somebody else's research and put your spin on it, but make sure you are adding value with that piece of content and you're not just regurgitating other pieces of content that are out there. Number 4, think about where it fits in with the rest of your content, with your buyer journey, with the rest of your web content. Make sure you are linking internally internally, and it's connected to everything else that you're doing. You know, you don't need to do a lot of these because they are good piece of content that will pull your weight, but think about where they fit in with the rest of your content calendar and make sure you're spreading them out. And number 5, make sure you share that content. So don't just put it on your website and leave it. Don't even just put it on your social media and leave it. Make sure you are sending it out on your email newsletter. You're sharing it across all your platforms multiple times. You're pulling out facts and figures from it so that you can keep using it, keep referring back to it. Send it out to people. Use it for PR. You know, this should be a piece of content that really pulls its weight in relation to all the rest of your content. So make sure you're using it and letting it reach its full potential. Simon Dalley, final thoughts on long form content.
I think that it's really important to understand what long form content looks like in your industry and understand how you're going to implement it within your content marketing strategy, within your kind of inbound marketing approach. Don't get so fixated that every piece of content that you're going to produce has to be long form, or certainly not those long form pieces where they're like 3,000 or 4,000 words long, because that will take you a long amount of time to actually do, and you'll probably not be able to produce them at sufficient quality. You will end up just waffling, and that could detrimentally kind of harm you as well.
Yeah. And my top tip would be, you know, try and see where there's a little bit of a gap. So have a look at your competitors and what they've put out. If, you know, if there's potentially a product or a service that you offer that maybe there isn't a lot of information out there, or nobody's thought about it from this point of view, try and do that and come up with try and spot a gap, and then that helps you come up with that unique point of view and sort of plug that hole. And then you're not just fighting against things that everybody else has put out. You're offering that unique perspective and positioning yourself as that voice of authority. But also, final thing, pick something that you're interested in, because writing 3,000 words and doing the original research and all the rest of it, it's quite laborious. You know, this is not just sit down and write a blog post in an hour. Mm-hmm. This is going to take several, you know, days potentially to research it, write it, promote it. So make sure it's a subject that you're really interested in, and you're not going to be throwing it out the window after the second day. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Simon Dalley. We did it. It only took us a week, but we managed it. We got there in the end. There we go. Excellent.
We did very well.
Yes, we did. So if you have watched this live,
yeah, you did too.
Oh yeah, I did amazing. If you've watched this live, shut up. If you watch this live, thank you very much. If you are watching it on playback, then you may still comment, because we will still see it and we will still answer your questions. If you are listening to this on podcast, then please like and subscribe and rate and tell your friends and all the rest of it. And if you are watching it on YouTube, subscribe below, and you can also comment and we'll see it and answer your questions. That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. We shall be back next week for another edition. Don't know what we're talking about. Find out when we get there. Wave, Simon Dalley.
Keep waving. Long time wave. Keep waving.